Good morning or good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining today's webinar. And I'm very excited to discuss the recently published Freight Audit and Payment Market Radar by Better Supply Chains. Now, this research really is meant to offer a comprehensive insight on the trends, challenges, and innovations that are shaping the freight audit and payment sector. And as some of you know, I created that market guide for freight audit and payment at Gartner back in 2015. I would say this is a newer take on this solution area that is brought to you by me from a perspective of industry expert. Now, joining me today is Hannah Testani. She's the CEO of Intelligent Audit, who's one of the vendors featured in the research note. Hannah's expertise and perspective will be invaluable in unpacking the market insights and practical strategies for both shippers and logistics professionals. Now, let's start with setting the stage. Why does freight audit and payment matter? So, accurate freight audit really ensures for organizations that only pay for services receipts, prevents overcharges, and provides real transparency into logistics costs, which I would say a lot of companies don't always have. Now, things like payment optimization help business improve cash flow. Again, in today's world with all disruptions, cash flow is king, but it also helps with vendor relationships and compliance. And we've all seen that shipping complexity has increased, and so these processes have become more and more vital. What are some of the things that really companies should focus on? One, it's around cost control, and that's where efficient audit and payment can reduce spend. Visibility, we've all heard about it, and we do realize that data-driven auditing provides really good data with good insights, and that helps not just with sourcing and carry negotiation, but overall visibility for an organization. And finally, a lot of mitigating risk. Today's supply chain is filled with risk, and so compliance and other things really helps companies with, for example, penalties or avoiding damage. Now, we've also in the market radar highlighted some real key trends around digital transformation and use of technology, around data integration. As we all know, data has become more and more important in our supply chain strategy and our day-to-day use of that data. But we've also seen a lot more carrier complexity, especially in areas like last mile where companies are using more and more carriers. But then we also have, as we just mentioned, things like compliance, sustainability, and overall the need for more real-time insights and freight spend management. Now, I'm thrilled to have Hannah Testani with us today. Now, Hannah, your organization, Intelligent Audit, has been, I would say, at the forefront of the freight audit industry. How would you say that this area has evolved, and why is freight audit so critical now?
So first, let me just say, I'm still in awe to be in your presence. I remember the first time I met you, I had to stand in line, 20 people. It took an hour to shake your hand and have a conversation. So huge fan and excited to be having this conversation. Freight audit's evolution has continued to be focused on, I would say, the haves and the have-nots. And that's in terms of the companies in our space. And at the end of the day, we've always existed to serve the same function, which is to receive transportation invoicing, to audit them, to work with carriers to get invoicing paid on time. But what's important now is the space that we live in has evolved in a world where disruptions are the norm. We all love pain. That's why we stick around. And we're at a point now where there's so much value that comes out of transportation data that there is a huge delta between the haves and the have-nots in terms of companies who have learned how to use transportation data as a power to enforce and to allow them to make intelligent decisions and to optimize, versus the companies that make decisions because they have to survive as disruptions happen and then never take a moment to stop and say, how do I become smarter? So there's tremendous amounts of unlock that you can achieve if you can take your transportation data and really join that with other data sets that you have to be able to then unlock the power of allowing data to make decisions and taking the emotion out of it, especially in the volatile market, the market that we live in today, that frankly is only going to become more and more volatile.
Thanks for those great insights, Hannah. Now, you guys have been really at the forefront of innovation for this space. How would you define technology and how it has really transformed the audit and payment industry?
Yeah, it's a great question. And frankly, you hear a lot about AI. I'm sure we'll talk about that soon. But at the core of the technology and the opportunity to innovate is automation. And there's confusion from my perspective when people talk about AI, and it's actually just automation. And frankly, both are incredible. What technology can do, people just can't do as efficiently. And the way I would describe it in layman's terms, if you've ever built something from IKEA and you used a screwdriver, you get it built. But then when you introduce a screwdriver or a drill to someone, now you realize, wow, I can be so much more efficient and accomplish so much more. That's how technology transforms everything that we do, including the audit and the payment space. So, from our perspective, the lens that we put on is how do we automate either the responsibility of the carriers, our customers, or our people? And there's so much room for automation that people have to do today, as well as what technology can do that people can't do is actually fix bad data. So, for example, you can leverage great automations, technology, and a lot of AI to take carrier invoicing that used to come in a PDF because it's some trucker and carrier in the middle of APOC that couldn't support EDI. And now you can take automation to be able to take the invoice, automatically route it through a system, and then leverage large language models, for example, to plug in the unknowns, to fix bad data. And the same concept applies to every part of our ecosystem. So between cost allocations that has to happen for every single invoice, the actual audit, the collaboration with carriers, because technology is critical to the world that we live in, but it doesn't replace people. If anything, it is the combination and the marriage of both technology and the right people with the expertise and the know-how that empowers you to do more. So for example, you can take 100,000 invoicing. You can use automation to find the invoicing that have issues. And then when you reach out to the carriers automatically and say, hey, carriers, you have an issue, go fix it. Instead of allowing just systems to talk to systems and never actually fixing the problem, if you instead interject the right humans that can say, hey, carriers, here are the issues that you need to fix. It is because you probably have the wrong cost per mile plugged into this system at this plant, and you have to fix it doing, X, Y, and Z. Now you actually achieve results, and you're able to marry both experts and the right amount of automation technology to really achieve efficiency and drive continuous improvements throughout your supply chain.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more, Hannah. And data is so important, right? I always say it's the lifeblood of the supply chain. And I think back in the day, and even when I was at PepsiCo, we were using freight audit solution providers. It was more from, okay, here you get an invoice, it's historical information, we want to check it. But now we really see that the data is also giving us great insights to do things looking forward. And that does change the perspective of what data is being used for. Because if you're just using it for historical analysis, what if the data is wrong? Well, it's already happened. But now we're starting to do things like predicting and modeling based on the data. So if your data is wrong, your prediction is going to be off. So how should people really look at their data if they want to truly take advantage of those insights and then start that road to better predictions and more automation?
Data is critical. So you absolutely nailed it. And if you think about artificial intelligence, in the last year and a half, what we've all come to talk about almost every day, if not every hour, is large language models. So the likes of a Chat GPT and a Grok. And that is very powerful. We're huge fans of artificial intelligence in terms of large language models. And the reason I'm saying that is because my opinion, when you think about AI, is large language models help productivity. You used to be able to do X of something, now you could do 100X of it. What is not being captured and what is not being talked about as much today as I think it should be is machine learning or deep learning, which is machine learning on steroids. And And it's not as sexy for some reason, but from my perspective, the applications are far more superior than what you can leverage with large language models. And it goes into the data. Large language models can work with some amount of data, but it can't actually work with millions and billions of records, whereas machine learning can. So when you think about the unlock of data, to your point, it is being able to take your data and help predict the future, as well as predict anomalous patterns. So we've been leveraging machine learning at Intelligent Audit for 7 years. And it is because this technology has existed for about 10 years now. So we use it every day in airports. We use it for cars. All of that, as you know, is not from ChatGPT. It is from machine learning. So when you have a lot of data, the first most important set of advice I can give to anyone is create data practices. So have data stewards, put up data governance, make sure that you can use data and it's all accurate. Because once you can do that, you can level and layer any type of AI on top of it, and it has clean data to be able to use to drive your intelligence forward. The way we leverage data, and specifically anomaly detection, which is how we've been able to leverage machine learning, is we take our customers' transportation data, which, as you can imagine, it's going to be different for every type of company. And we then, the machine learning and the models take the data. It has the intelligence to group shipment information into like patterns. And then within each pattern of data, it becomes an expert at predicting the future, which means as new shipments flow through the model, it first says, which pattern does this shipment go into? And then once it's there, did I predict this shipment? And when it's the answer is no, then it becomes an anomalous pattern or anomaly. Very similar to how credit card companies manage fraud detection. You've probably used a credit card. You've probably never logged into your credit card company and created a rule that said, when I'm at Target in Minneapolis and I spend something for $1, alert me. You don't need to. It has that intelligence. That is because it leverages data and it knows everything about you. That is exactly how we think about data, specifically for machine learning and how we're leveraging for our customers. And I'll say the thesis when we rolled it out was that it would catch bad behaviors. It has actually detected tremendous amounts of fraud, as well as just technical glitches that happen and have very big implications for our customers' transportation data.
Yeah, it's very interesting. And the example of the credit card, I've had that actually happen to me quite a few times. But I do like it when they still involve the human, right? Because I've also had credit cards where they said, hey, Bart, you bought something somewhere that's maybe out of the ordinary. We immediately blocked your credit card. Rather than sending me a notice and saying, this looks kind of weird, can you actually provide some information to agree with that transaction or not? So I think there still should be some kind of interaction between the human and the data. But I agree, and your insights on leveraging the data analytics and the automation to deliver more value for your clients are, I would say, especially relevant given some of the market trends that we highlighted in the report. Now, how do you see the future of freight audit evolving, especially as supply chains are becoming even more complex and then customer expectations rise?
Yeah, I mean, there's always a beautiful, delicate balance between reducing costs and focusing on customer experience. So in terms of the future of our space, I think that people just want to be able to do more by themselves without having to pick up a phone and call someone. So the way we're thinking about the future is creating a product that our customers can do a lot more by themselves, but still know that there are people that have the expertise supporting them on the back end. So what I mean by that is we've created these self-serve modeling tools where our customers can come into our application and play with their data. So they can do things like if they were a parcel form a few weeks ago, they can say, well, I just met a new carrier. I want to know if I could add that carrier to my network and how it's going to impact my cost, my time in transit, my customer experience. And they can do that by themselves within seconds, not having to rely on people, for example. That being said, I still see that there is so much power in what people bring to the table that technology just isn't ready to do. And what I mean by that is people can come in and say, here's what the models are saying are most efficient. Now, here's how to go do that. Here are the conversations to have internally. Here's how to say, what to say, who to say it to. And it really joins the real-time insights, the predictive analytics, as well as the know-how, the expertise that, if you just look at data and you go and implement something, you'll get burned because you don't also have the years of expertise that enables you to avoid those roadblocks. So from my perspective, the future is just continued innovation, technology that empowers innovation to do a lot more, and just a lot more happens automatically. But I'm not going to pretend like we're going to live in this fully automated world, because at the end of the day, transportation carriers, which is who feeds us a lot of our data, are still going to live in a world where there's going to be non-EDI data, because you're not going to get carriers sending you EDI across the world. There's going to be a lot of exceptions, and we live in a world because of exceptions, and that's exceptions everywhere. It's invoicing exceptions, it's audit exceptions, it's cost allocations, it's financial questions. As supply chains become more complex because companies are forced to diversify because of disruptions, or because they just want to be closer to their customers, or they have to manufacture in a new location. All of that complexity creates opportunities to just be really efficient and to make the right decisions, as long as you know that there is data to back you up. So I'm sure that we're going to see more legacy providers being acquired by new technology forward-thinking companies, which is, I think, great for shippers in this space. And the days of having a lot of legacy providers that just do the audit and the payment is probably going to be done, because at this point, if you haven't yet thought about the future from a corporation perspective and what that means in terms of building to support it, and you're still leveraging AS400 and Excel to run your supply chain, you're forced to have those conversations, because the gap of the technology haves and the technology have-nots is going to be too scary for companies to survive.
Yeah, great insights again. Now, the market radar really looks at vendors in a couple of different ways, right? Their capabilities, the modes of transportation they cover, the industry they cover, the global reach, as well as market experience, technology innovation, as well as partnership approach. Those are all very important. But Hannah, according to you, what's really critical for a vendor, what they should offer to a customer, and how would you say Intelligent Audit differentiates itself from the competition?
Fair question. To me, the most critical factors are a combination of innovation, scalability, and our people. When I say scalability, it means the ability to handle every mode, every geography, every level of complexity. Innovation is what sets vendors apart, is because technology is moving so fast that shippers need partners who are well ahead of the curve. And then our people, because they bring the expertise. They're the ones where if you have the right people and you use them in the right ways, then you're able to really leverage automation, innovation globally, and have the people who are just guiding you to achieve success most effectively. When you can unlock all those three together and you have the scale that we have, I mean, we manage billions and billions of shipments across the world, you learn a lot. And you're also empowered with a lot of insightful information. And that's where we can really partner with our customers. We don't just give them reports, but we give them the tools and the insights and the actionable intelligence to improve their carrier relationships, to reduce their transportation costs, and to optimize their networks in a way where their customers feel it. Their customers are seeing the innovation, and the customers feel like they care, all while reducing costs.
Oh, great points. Now, I would say here's some key takeaways, right? For anyone out there that's looking for a freight audit and payment provider. One is understand that freight audit and payment are strategic levers for cost. cost control as well as operational excellence, and that you have to look at innovation. It's both technology and data integration that are driving rapid change in the industry. And finally, partnering with innovative solution providers like Intelligent Audit can really help organizations to stay ahead of the curve. And it's like you said, you don't want to stand still. You want to continuously provide more value to your customers. And there's so much, even in the future, more that the data that you collect that it can unlock. Now, if you're looking for more detailed insights and recommendation, please download the full freight audit and payment market radar report from the Better Supply Chains website. And a special thanks to you, Hannah, for joining us and sharing your expertise. And we hope that you found today's session valuable, and we encourage you to reach out with follow-up questions or collaboration ideas. So thank you everyone for attending. We're looking to be in contact again soon and supporting your journey towards a better supply chain with smarter and more efficient freight management. See you next time.